Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi, Akshay.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I don't think she made me the host. I'll just call her up. Hello? Hello? Can't I hear him? 1 second. Hello? Akshay?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, you're talking to me. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she made me the host now. And quickly, we will start. We'll finish this particular portion. Tomorrow and next Saturday, no? I am
Yes,
not
ma'am.
available, so we won't be having class.
Sunday will take.
No. Over the weekend, I'm not available. This
Mm.
Saturday, Sunday, I have another work, and next Saturday, Sunday, I'll come to Bangalore actually.
Oh,
So I won't be able to take the class.
oh, ma'am. Why do you keep coming to Bangalore?
I have friends there.
Oh, like for friends. Okay, I thought some your family also stays here.
No. I have friends there. Did she make
I'm
this
there in
ID the?
Bangalore.
I'll be there in Jayanagar.
Oh, ma'am, next to my house.
Where is your house?
I stay in Banshankari, 7 minutes from Jayanagar. Every day I
Ah, I
go.
know. I know places in Bangalore very well.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, go to Glens, Jayanagar. Newly they've
I've
opened.
been there.
Now only they've opened Glens in Jayanagar branch.
Oh, the Jayanagar branch. Oh,
Yeah, Lavelle Road, everyone goes. The Jayanagar only knows there.
okay. Which ID of mine is a host? I think.
I'll tell you. Your the one you're talking from your phone is the host. Ma'am, 1 second, I'll be back.
Yeah.
Ma'am, everything you told, I remember.
Hmm?
Everything you taught yesterday, I remember.
You remember very good. You try opening this. Ah, wait, this is not opening. So, what all you remember?
Ma'am, 1 second, I'll put charger to the laptop. For past 3 days, I'm using my laptop only on 30%. So today it's finally about to take.
Very nice.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Now it's charging. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, see, ma'am, we learn urine formation. So first is glomerular, this thing, glomerular filtration, and then selective absorption and selective reabsorption and secretion. In glomerular filtration, it happens in the three layers. Everything is absorbed except protein, and it is absorbed. Everything is filtered except protein,
Mm.
and this happens at high pressure. So it is called ultrafiltration.
Mm.
And then we told we'll do reabsorption. Reabsorption, we told what it is, but then we told we'll do that today.
So reabsorption means tubular reabsorption is reabsorbing back from the tubules into the body. That is
And
from the
secretion is
filtrate,
adding something to it.
adding something to the filtrate.
Hmm.
Okay, so where does ideally where does this reabsorption happen? It happens at the
A renal
PCT,
tubule.
the renal tubules, PCT, Enley's loop, and TCT. Okay.
Hmm.
Yes, I opened the PPT. Just a second.
Ma'am, have you ever gone to Tipsy Bull? It's in JP Nagar.
No. Screen share. Where was that? Where was that? Where was that? Here. We didn't see all these things, no. So we need to now know that what all are the things that are going to get
From
reabsorbed.
24, we stopped 24.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, when we talk about reabsorption, reabsorption is whatever is needed. So see, like what happens is that like things are getting filtered out from the blood, no. So it is not necessary that always it's a nitrogenous base or something that is not necessary for a body being sucked in. Sometimes, okay, even because of the high pressure, you like glucose gets into the renal tubule. Okay. But at that time, what happens is our body needs glucose, means this glucose has to be absorbed back into the body. So all these things that are needed for the body, like little amount of glucose, amino acids, okay, water, sodium ions, potassium ions, all these things are actually taken back into the body, that is from the filtrate. So this process is called as reabsorption. And it is to be noted that even though urea is a nitrogenous base or a uric acid is nitrogenous base, a small amount of them, very tiny quantity, is needed in our body to maintain the balance.
pH.
Not just the pH, like there are other factors also revolving around it. Okay. So it's very important that to maintain that homeostasis, they say no, like anything over a limit is always a problem. If the nitrogenous base over a limit only is going to be a problem. So some amount of nitrogenous base in order to balance that, the irregularity will be also absorbed back. Okay. So when I say absorb back into the body, it can be absorbed by active transport or passive transport. So you already know that active transport means it is going to use some sort of energy. Passive transport, yes. Active means energy and passive means it won't use any sort of energy.
Yeah, passive, no energy is required.
Yes. So what are the things that passively move out of the tubules into the body is nitrogenous base, water. So simple diffusion happens there. But in the case of glucose, amino acids, sodium ions, all these things, active like transport occurs. Okay. So now the next thing is that a secretion into the filtrate. So when I say into the filtrate, that means this tubular secretion. Okay. So this is something that goes into the filtrate. And what are the normal substances that go into the filtrate? Ammonia, like hydrogen ions, potassium ions, all those things.
What goes into the filtrate?
Ammonia, potassium, hydrogen ions, all these things.
Their secretion, correct? No.
Yeah, that is into the filtrate. Okay, that means the tubular cells are going to secrete it. Okay, so if I put this together, it will look something like this. Okay, so the arrows that moves to the cortex fluid.
Hmm?
Can you see on the top, the blue color portion is tubular fluid
Is tubular fluid.
and outside is cortex fluid.
Hmm.
So when I say tubular fluid, what do you mean by that? The fluid present within the tubules,
Tubules.
which is ideally your filtrate.
Huh.
Okay, and the nearby area that is near
So it is
the
getting reabsorbed into the body to tubular epithelial cell, then basement membrane, then cortex fluid.
correct. So where exactly are these PCT, DCT present?
Renal tubule.
No, where they are present, medulla or cortex?
Oh, medulla. Sorry. Oh, PCT, DCT, and all cortex. Cortex region.
Cortex. No. So when the fluid goes into, it will go into the cortex or into the medulla?
Into cortex.
Into the cortex. Okay, that's why we have this thing called as cortex fluid here.
Hmm.
Okay, so like yes, like all the tubular cells are aligned by epithelial cells.
Hmm.
Okay, so which epithelial exactly, to be specific? It's brush border epithelial.
Brush
Border
border
epithelial.
epithelial.
So when I say brush border epithelial, that means they have cilia on their cells.
They have
So
cilia
on their cells.
on their cells. Okay.
Yes. So any like any cell which has cilia on it, when they are arranged together, it will look like a brush. No,
Hmm.
that's why it's called as brush border.
Oh.
Yeah, and the size shape of the cells in the case of PCT is cuboidal. So it is called as cuboidal brush border epithelium.
Cuboidal because it's in cuboidal shape.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so whenever like this question has been asked quite several times. Okay, where can you find the cuboidal brush border epithelium? You can find that in your PCT, as well as you can find it in fallopian tube.
We can find that in the PCT.
Yes, and the fallopian tube.
Okay, ma'am.
So in the case of PCT, why the brush border or the ciliated, cuboidal ciliated epithelium, basically that is okay. Why that is present is because it has to increase the surface area for absorption. Just like
Oh,
how
that's
your
why.
villi acts, no?
Hmm.
Same way, these cilia will actually help in the increase of the surface area for
Hmm.
reabsorption.
Hmm.
So reabsorption, if you see, mainly occurs in the PCT area.
Hmm.
And secretion also mainly occurs in the PCT area.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So basically, reabsorption is of what all things are getting reabsorbed back into the body.
Ma'am, into the body is ammonia.
No, into the body is not
Oh,
ammonia.
into the body. Sorry. From that. Okay. So glucose.
Mm.
Then some this thing water.
Mm.
Then other stuff.
Yeah, some extra sodium ions and all those things.
Okay.
Now, in order to, since sodium ion is being taken into the cortex fluid, don't you think there will be ionic imbalance?
Yeah. So from body, H plus K plus and ammonia go.
Correct. That's it. Simple logic.
Yes, ma'am.
So when it goes from the body, it is basically your tubular secretion.
Mm.
Okay. So this is what happens in the case of your PCT. Okay.
Hmm.
Now we will move to the next part. So we know that till now, whatever we saw are the process of reabsorption and secretion happening in the PCT.
Now Henle's loop.
Yes. Now loop of Henle. In the case of loop of Henle, there is no secretion, there is only reabsorption.
Okay, water, all of that gets reabsorbed.
Yes. Okay. So majority of water and sodium ions are reabsorbed
But
into
it's getting absorbed into medullary fluid
Yes, correct. That is a difference.
because Henle's loop.
Yes. Now the next thing that you need to know. You know that Henle's loop has two limbs, no? One is the descending limb and another is the ascending limb.
Mm.
Even though it is a continuation, The descending limb is actually permeable only to water. See here, what is going out of the descending tubular fluid?
Water.
Water. But whereas it is not permeable for sodium and chloride ions. Okay. But the ascending limb, no, it is permeable to sodium and chloride ions.
Oh, okay.
So how it works is from this side, that is this portion, water will ooze out. From this portion, sodium and chloride ions will ooze out. Okay, so that means a water cannot come out of this ascending limb because it is impermeable. Okay, but whereas descending limb is more permeable to water, that's why descending limb will be reabsorbing water into the body.
That's why.
That's why the descending
Oh,
limb.
that's why descending is only absorbing water because it's permeable only to water, but ascending is not permeable to water, permeable only to sodium and chloride.
Sodium and chloride ions. Even though it is given as sodium chloride, it is going to be basically sodium chloride
ion and chloride ion.
Yes. Okay. So one thing that you need to understand here is that here the medullary fluid is basically going to play an important role in maintaining the sodium chloride ion, consistency. Okay. So when I say it is going to maintain the sodium ion, okay, so basically it looks like this. So when your filtrate is passing through the loop of Henle, okay, so the sodium chloride ions are going to be secreted by the ascending limb. Yes. Okay. Now, because yes, so as a result of this, what will happen? The osmolarity in the medulla region will increase. Okay. Now, the next thing is the water is being released onto this side. Yes. Now, what will happen after a point of time? Like if sodium ions itself keep on getting released in the from the ascending limb, don't you think at one point of time there will be a lot of ions in the medullary region? So in order to balance that only, the water is being reabsorbed back into the descending limb.
Oh.
Okay.
Just to balance that, water is there, reabsorbed.
Yes, yes, correct. Okay. Otherwise, the concentration of the sodium chloride will increase in the tissue that of the medulla. So right now, whatever is happening where, in which region?
Whatever is happening, it's happening in medullary region.
Medullary region. And in loop of Henle, is there a secretion also?
No, only reabsorption.
Yes, correct. So if you see, the logic wise, okay, the one that is the liquid that is moving down the descending limb, it is getting concentrated more and more. Okay. Now, as it moves up to the ascending limb, because of the movement of the sodium chloride ions, what is it happening? Again, it is getting further diluted in the ascending limb. Okay. So basically, the first thing that you need to understand is the tissue that is present in the medullary region is called as the interstitial tissue. Okay. So initially, when the filtrate is passing through the descending limb,
interstitial tissue.
Interstitial tissue, no. The in-between tissues are called as what? Interstitial tissue, right? So first case, what will happen? The water is basically going to be secreted by the descending limb. Okay. Then the reason why the water is being secreted in the descending limb is because the sodium and chloride ion concentration is high as the ascending limb keeps secreting it. Got the difference till now? So in order to balance the concentration of sodium and chloride, water is being secreted by which limb?
By interstitial limb.
By which limb? Into the interstitial fluid of the medulla, correct? Descending limb. Yes. Now, if I remove water out of any fluid, will it become concentrated or diluted? If I remove water out of any fluid, will it become concentrated or diluted?
If you remove water, it will become concentrated.
Correct. So, in the fluid that will be flowing through the descending limb, will it be concentrated or diluted?
It will become concentrated because water is removed.
Correct. Now, from the same fluid, if I remove more ions, okay, outside, then what will happen? Ions are basically solute here, no? So from a solution, if I am removing solute, what will happen?
What from?
From a solution, if I am removing solutes out, what is left out in the solution?
Only solvent.
Only solvent. So that means, is it a concentrated solution or a dilute solution?
Dilute.
So as the fluid goes up the ascending limb, since sodium chloride is removed, what will happen is that particular solution will become more dilute.
Diluted.
Understood how the concentration difference changes in the Henle's loop itself? That's it. This is what I wanted you to know. Okay. So till now we saw reabsorption and secretion in PCT, and we saw reabsorption in loop of Henle. Okay. So what all are the constituents that get reabsorbed at the PCT?
Reabsorbed.
Yes.
Water, glucose, nutrients, sodium, chloride.
What about secretion?
K plus, H plus, and nitrogen is waste. No. What is the other one? HCO3 minus, I think.
Okay. And then what about loop
Oh,
of Henle?
NH3, sorry, not HCO3. NH3, ammonia.
What all are secreted into the loop of Henle?
In the loop of Henle, secreted nothing, only reabsorption.
Very good. I'm proud
I'm
of
a
you.
pro, ma'am. That's why.
Very nice. Okay. Good. So till now you have got the concept clear, no? Now we will move to the next one, which is the DCT. Okay.
Hello.
So when you
Yes.
can you hear me? So in the case of DCT, again, like how in PCT you had both
Same thing.
in this also you will have secretion and reabsorption.
Same thing.
Same thing. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So is this clear?
Yes, ma'am. Oh,
No, wait. One difference is there in PCT and DCT based on this question is asked. Okay. So that is in the case of your PCT is where the nutrients like glucose and all are reabsorbed. Okay. That glucose will be completely reabsorbed. Whatever has to be reabsorbed will be done in PCT itself. It will not come to loop of Henle and go to DCT. So if you compare, you compare the things that are getting reabsorbed in the PCT and DCT, you will see everything is common other than the nutrients. Can you see? So why is that is because the glucose or any essential nutrient that has to be reabsorbed into the body will be done at the PCT itself. It won't have. Yes, it will not wait till the DCT. Okay. So is that concept clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now, yes, now we go into the collecting duct. Okay. So what happens in the collecting duct? Collecting duct is present in the medulla. Okay. So some amount of water and urea is always reabsorbed from the collecting duct. Okay. Say for example, like sometimes the urine is very concentrated. No. Like when you don't drink sufficient amount of water and your body is excreting a lot of water in terms of sweat or any exercise, then what will happen is the urine will be highly concentrated.
Yeah, you will get kidney stone like that.
Yes. You will not get kidney stone. You might get urinary infections mostly. Okay. So why that is happening is like because there is no enough amount of water for your body to eliminate. So what your body will do as a mechanism, it will take back all the water from the collecting duct. Okay. And a little bit of urea also. So what will happen? The amount of water in the urine that is formed in the collecting duct is very, very low. That is when your urine will get concentrated. Okay. Is this clear? Okay. So other than the Henle's loop, all the other parts of the renal tubule, both reabsorption and secretion will happen.
Other than the
other than the renal tubule,
Mm.
I mean, in the renal tubule, other than the loop of Henle, all the other tubules, that is your PCT, DCT, both reabsorption and secretion will happen.
Mm.
But in loop of Henle, only what will happen?
In loop of Henle, only absorption.
Reabsorption.
Yeah, only reabsorption.
Okay. And in collecting duct also, only like both reabsorption and secretion will happen.
Mm.
But what are the items that are getting reabsorbed?
In which, ma'am? In collecting
Collecting
duct,
duct.
only H2 and U.
Okay. And where will this fluid go into? Cortex or medulla?
Medulla.
Okay. And what are the things that are secreted into the fluid?
H plus K plus.
Okay. Where are the nutrients always reabsorbed?
PCT.
And which where is the, like, what is the epithelium that is present in PCT?
Brush body.
Yes. See, you should remember cuboidal ciliated epithelium.
Hmm.
Okay. So it has a brush border appearance. Why I'm saying is because in the options they will also give you columnar.
Hmm.
So you should not get confused. La. And anything that gets reabsorbed or in the PCT will go to which fluid? Medullary fluid or cortex fluid?
Cortex fluid.
Okay, now you understood why I kept telling these terms are very important.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what is the answer for this?
Removal of proximal convoluted tubule. PCT will absorb this thing. What do you call it? Nutrients, all of that. It'll be more concentrated urine.
Yes, because there's one more
Because
reason.
it's not absorbing anything, so balance it'll be imbalanced.
No, it's wrong. See, proximal convoluted
But it's
tubule
more
is
concentrated urine, no?
it's more concentrated.
Urine.
By
Because the PCT only all absorption takes place, no? Reabsorption and secretion.
how?
Oh.
In PCT, okay, see, the logic is in PCT, the nutrients are reabsorbed. Apart from that, water is also reabsorbed. Yes or no? So if I remove the proximal convoluted tubule, there will be nutrients also. At the same time, there will be a lot of water also.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So more dilute.
Yes. Okay. So you should understand that around 70 to 80% of the water is reabsorbed in the PCT area into the body. So if I remove PCT, that 70 to 80% of the water is going to be eliminated from the body. It will not be reabsorbed. Understood? So that is a reason why your urine will become more diluted if there is no PCT.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is this about? Okay, yes. So now we come to this particular mechanism that I have been telling you called as counter current mechanism. Remember?
Counter?
Current mechanism. I even told you this when I told you about vasa recta. Okay. See, the efferent arteriole will branch out as peritubular capillaries. Remember?
Yeah, and then which forms the vasa recta.
Yeah, which forms a vasa recta around the loop of Henle.
Henle, correct.
Okay. Now, the thing is that loop of Henle is actually like this particular flow of vasa recta, no? Will be exactly opposite to that of your loop of Henle.
This particular?
Like, for example, in your loop of Henle, the flow of filtrate is from the descending limb to the ascending limb, no?
Yeah.
In the vasa recta, the same thing will be flowing in the opposite direction. Okay. So what will happen is the there will be a concentration difference in vasa recta as well as loop of Henle because they are parallel to each other. So that is what is actually called as counter current mechanism. Okay. So this counter current mechanism is going to help in the concentration or in the dilution of the urine.
So wait. So in Henle's loop, it flows in one descending to ascending. In vasa recta, it flows in the opposite direction. There'll be a change in concentration between those two. So that is called counter current effect.
Yeah, but we are going to see that a little more in detail. Like we are not going to stop. I'm just checking 1 second. Where is this? Okay, so here we have some numbers which will help us understand like the movement, of this, so that we can understand counter current mechanism in a better way.
Hmm.
Okay, I won't be taking counter current mechanism today. It will be a little overboard. Okay, I want you to summarize first of all whatever we learned till now
I just did
regarding
know.
urine formation. Once again,
Oh,
you said about counter current mechanism definition, but I want you to start with the PCT in the order. Tell me which all are the substances that get reabsorbed, secreted, all
ma'am, you
the
asked me a question, I'll tell you, ma'am.
no. I want you, whatever you understood today, let me know first.
See, ma'am. So you will
Yes.
three steps are there: glomerular filtration,
Very good.
selective reabsorption, and secretion.
Also known as
Also known as ultrafiltration.
ultrafiltration, is glomerular filtration. I'm talking about the secretion and reabsorption. You said selective, no. So there's
Hmm.
another term also for that. What is it?
What does it start with?
T.
T or
Hmm.
T or
T.
T. How? What? Uh,
Tubular reabsorption or tubular secretion?
oh yeah, okay. Tubular
Okay.
reabsorption, tubular secretion.
Tell me the process of tubular reabsorption or secretion in loop of Henle.
Ma'am, first, ma'am, in descending column and ascending column, okay. So
Ascending colon illa, loop.
loop, okay. So in ascending loop, NaCl is reabsorbed, okay.
Hmm.
So as it keeps on reabsorbing, the ion concentration will increase.
Hmm.
In order to maintain that in descending column, in descending limb, this thing is water is reabsorbed.
Hmm.
Maintain balance. So the descending limb actually would be concentrated, would be diluted. Since water is reabsorbed, it will become more concentrated.
Hmm.
The ascending limb, it will be concentrated, but NaCl is reabsorbed, so it will be diluted again when it's going out.
Hmm.
That's all. That is Henle's loop.
This is which process? Secretion or reabsorption?
This is only reabsorption because in Henle's loop, no secretion takes place.
Excuse me.
And then
Okay.
ascending and descending column secretion, I mean, PCT and DCT secretion takes place. But in PCT, secretion and reabsorption, but in PCT, nutrients are also reabsorbed, like glucose and all. But in DCT, nutrients are not reabsorbed. Only what is this called? K plus, H plus, and NH3 is secreted, and water, ammonia, and all of that is reabsorbed.
Okay. Good. Now, okay. So, in the case of PCT and DCT, what is the difference between the reabsorption and secretion that happens?
I just told no, ma'am. In DCT, nutrients are not secreted. Nutrients are not reabsorbed
Reabsorbed into what?
into the cortex fluid.
Okay, very good. Now, in the case of collecting duct, what are the reabsorption and secretion happening?
The reabsorption is K plus. No, secretion is K plus H plus.
Mm, mm,
Reabsorption is H2O and NaCl.
okay, good.
That's
Fine.
absorbed into medullary fluid.
Okay, is this concept very clear?
Hmm.
Okay, so this basically what is being explained after this is all about the osmolarity. Okay, so that is amount of solute concentration. So as I said, it keeps varying. So this particular topic alone, I will be taking like later on. Okay, not now. So for today's session, what we will do is that we will move into the last excretory disorders. It's a very
Hmm.
short topic, which I can complete today. Because
Hmm.
if I start counter current mechanism, I need a little more time. So what I will do is first I will finish the disorders and come back to the counter current mechanism. Will
Hmm.
that be fine for you?
Yeah, ma'am.
You will not forget, no, these things that we studied right now.
No, ma'am.
Okay, because they are very important, as I said. What is the glomerular filtrate rate?
150 or 180 liters per day, 150 ml per minute, I think.
150 per minute.
per second.
No, 125 ml per minute.
125 per minute, 180 liters per day.
Okay. Excretory products and elimination. I think this session was designed by me only. Is that the same session? Is that the same session? Yeah, this is my session. One second. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, got a call. Uh, Fine. So this session is very simple and like light-hearted. Okay, so like there in your textbook wise, if you see, there are not like many disorders associated with the excretory system. Okay, but in this we would have mentioned like few more disorders associated with it. Okay, so we'll quickly run through this part so that we can finish at least this session. Then we'll have only one more session to complete excretory products. See, excretory this one. Okay. Yeah. Now, so basically, this intrigue is nothing but, yeah. Uh, this is basically an intrigue to tell that your kidney functions like how your garbage is being eliminated in your area, right? Every time. So you
Ma'am,
like,
it came like this, no, where you eat the building and all.
yeah. I just took the GIF from some random place there. Okay, now listen. So basically, the main aim of the kidney is to clean up the mess that is there in your body. That is all the night away. Extra waste has to be eliminated. That is what the kidney does. That is elimination of waste products. Now, what will happen if these waste is not eliminated properly and it is accumulated in your body? It will definitely lead into various disorders. Okay, it is just like in your area, regularly people come and clean up all the garbages that you people throw, right? What will happen if the garbages get accumulated?
Waste.
Not waste alone. Then slowly, that area will become a landfill. Then it will start stinking. Then all sorts of disease vectors will start breeding there. Okay, so all these problems will start arising. So in our body, the kidney makes sure that like our body is clean. Okay, but what will happen if the kidney fails? Then it is called as kidney failure or renal failure. Okay, now whenever I am saying some organ is failing, I am not telling that the organ has completely shut down. I am telling that it is not able to do its work efficiently or anymore properly. That's it. Okay, so so like when I say heart failure also means that the heart is not able to pump enough blood anymore. Same way, kidney failure means the kidney is not able to filter the unwanted waste anymore. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So in this case, what will a doctor suggest? So a doctor.
Oh yeah.
What? Yeah. So what will the doctor suggest is that the first thing is, see, like it's very difficult to always transplant an organ. And like even though kidney transplantation is one organ, but kidney, pancreas and lungs, these three things, okay, they are actually transplanted together, and that surgery has a better success rate than the surgery of transplanting pancreas or kidneys alone.
So all three they'll transfer. That means they'll give you a new kidney, new lung.
Yes, and I'm talking about, see, like for example, patients with diabetes and all, no, they
Hmm.
need to replace pancreas, right?
Hmm.
So in those cases, when they have to transplant pancreas, transplanting pancreas alone is always like the success rate of that operation is very less.
Meaning success
But when
meaning
you,
whether they'll be alive or not.
success rate means whether the patient's body will accept the pancreas or not.
Hmm.
It's not about being alive or not.
Hmm.
Okay, so now because the rejection rate is higher, but
Hmm.
when it is transferred as these three organs together, no, it is
So
said
what
that
they'll do at a time, they'll cut your body in three places, put one lung, put pair of lungs.
it will be an open part, open surgery. So they will just transplant everything from the thoracic to the abdomen region.
Now, open meaning?
Open meaning cut through.
So they'll cut my kidney, that area, they'll put kidney, they'll cut where pancreas is, put pancreas, cut where lungs is, put lungs.
Sounds easy, but there are also some certain technicalities into that, which I don't think I am qualified enough to explain it to you because it is more of the MBBS part.
So
If you,
people who want to get pancreas thing, they'll basically get new lungs also, even if their lungs are fine.
even if their lungs are fine, because the reason is that success rate of that surgery is actually higher.
So basically they won't have their lungs anymore. They'll get some other person's lungs.
Yeah, their or old lungs generally get replaced.
Oh, that's good, no man. They can protect, they can save themselves from cancer also.
Not
Like,
not like that. There are chances that that can also be rejected.
yeah, but it's better than cancer, no man. Like people, if they smoke, they can do this. They won't get anything. Then.
Wow, it's so easy to get Noda organs like that. See, it is very easy to get kidney alone because like we all have two kidneys. Okay, so it's very easy to find a kidney donor, but it is very difficult to find any other parts in our body.
Ma'am, we can pay and get, no ma'am.
That is organ trafficking. That is some other mafia itself on a whole new level. Okay, let's come back here. So whenever a kidney fails, the doctor wouldn't immediately suggest the patient to go for a kidney transplant.
Hmm.
At the same time, the doctor cannot let the patient be at his own thing, no, because otherwise then the nitrogenous waste will accumulate in the body and ultimately the patient will die.
Hmm.
Okay, so therefore he goes for another alternative method which is called as hemodialysis.
Hmm.
Hemodialysis is nothing but a process by which the filtration is done outside the body.
Hmm.
So instead of kidney doing its function inside the body, what we are going to do, we are going to have a artificial setup wherein the blood is going to be filtered in that artificial setup. And that artificial setup is called as hemodialysis.
Oh.
Okay, so how this hemodialysis happens, we will be seeing. Okay, before that, we'll just see the types of kidney failure. There are two types of kidney failure. One is acute and another is chronic.
Hmm.
So what is the difference is suddenly, like all of a sudden, no reason, kidney got stopped. I mean, it's not working anymore properly. Then it is acute renal failure. It is very sudden and abrupt.
Temporary.
Yes. But whereas chronic renal failure is a person who has a kidney issue, that is a kidney failure issue for a very long time. It is
Hmm.
not like all of a sudden it happened. It is happening for a very long time.
Hmm.
Like the kidney has been degenerating slowly for a very long time. So in
Hmm.
the case of acute renal failure, since it is very sudden, okay, it sometimes it becomes very difficult to like bring that particular person, like
Hmm.
diagnose that particular person fast. Okay,
Hmm.
because in that case, what is if a person has a chronic renal failure, that means the doctor knows that the renal like that person has to undergo dialysis.
Hmm.
So it can be done. But in the case of acute renal failure, suddenly the kidney is failing. No, so the chances of doing dialysis is lesser there. Chances of doing a transplantation is more there. Okay, is this
Oh.
clear till now?
Ma'am, wait. When is chance of dialysis more?
Chances of dialysis is more when it is chronic, when the patient, you know that the patient is having for a very long time degeneration of the
Hmm.
kidney. That
Hmm.
time the doctor will suggest for dialysis.
Hmm.
But when you know that all of a sudden the kidney just stopped working, then
Hmm.
what is the ultimate option is to immediately replace it.
Hmm.
Okay, this is the difference between acute renal failure and chronic renal failure. Okay, when I say renal failure means your body is failing to filter out the nitrogenous waste. Now, how will you know that this is happening? How will you know that the kidneys are not functioning properly?
By we'll get some pain or something.
No.
Rapid fall in
No.
glomerular.
So basically, when we do the blood workup, right? So in the blood workup, what will happen is that it will show that the urea and creatinine level is high. So if in your body urea or creatinine level is high, it is understood that what is happening?
That acute renal failure.
When you learned about urine and this one formation, where was urea and creatinine being absorbed into?
PCT.
Think.
Urea.
Urea and creatinine. Where did we see these terms?
I don't think we saw them in urine
We
formation.
saw. When we learnt about ultrafiltration, I told you.
Oh, in
Urea.
glomerulus.
Yes, in glomerulus, correct? So when your glomerulus fails, that is the first step, no, of urine formation. Ange, if things fail, forget about the renal tubule and everything. Okay. So when your glomerulus fails to filter out urea and creatinine, then your body urea creatinine level will be high. So if I take a blood test, I can find out whether the urea creatinine level is high. If it is high, that means the kidney is not functioning properly. In that case, tell me if the glomerular filtrate rate will increase or decrease.
Decrease.
Of course, decrease. Okay. But what is the difference is, in the case of acute renal failure, this decrease will be abrupt. Like abruptly, your glomerular filtrate rate will decrease. But in the case of chronic renal failure, the glomerular filtrate rate will decrease slowly. That's the only difference. Is this concept clear? So the first disorder is renal failure or kidney failure. Okay. So if there is a gradual decrease in your GFR rate, that means it is chronic renal failure.
That means for long time you'll have.
Very long time. Exactly. If it is sudden fall, then it is.
Acute means it can be cured, no?
Yeah, acute means it can be cured. Okay. Now,
just now one disorder we finished.
Yes, one disorder we finished. So the next one is uremia. So uremia is when your body urea level is very, very high. Then you call it as uremia.
Isn't urea harmful?
Of course it is harmful. We learned it. No, that is why we call it as a nitrogenous waste. And it has to be eliminated. One point of time, if urea is there, you will definitely die.
Exactly.
Yes. So the condition by which we say that the level of urea in your body is high is called as uremia. What is it called?
Uremia.
Uremia. Okay. So when you talk about the kidney failure can also be associated with uremia. So if your kidney is failing, ultimately what will happen to your body? Urea level will be high. So that means it will lead to uremia. Is this clear?
Yes,
so two disorders we learned. One is renal failure or kidney failure. The next one is uremia. So the next question, is this treatable? As I said, yes, hemodialysis. Okay. So hemodialysis is basically filtering out of the nitrogenous waste from the blood. Okay. So what is going to happen here is that this particular mission, can you see here? This mission is called as the
next is what is this called? Hemodialysis.
Dialysis. Yes. Okay. So hemodialysis is blood dialysis. Okay. So here, if you see, there is this mission here, no? This mission is called as the dialysing unit. Okay. So this dialysing unit is going to consist of this. Can you see this cylindrical thing here in the image? That cylindrical thing is called as dialyzer. What is it called?
Yeah, ma'am. People keep getting dialysis every month.
Yes, I'll tell you the structure of the hemodialysis right now. Okay, so this particular tube-like structure here is called as a dialyzer. So what does this dialyzer do? This dialyzer is equivalent to your kidney.
Yeah.
That is,
Filter away.
Yes. In that entire dialyzing unit, who is performing the function of the kidney in ketangana? Dialyzer. Okay. And the dialyzer is also known as artificial kidney. What is it called?
Artificial kidney.
Why is it called artificial kidney?
Because it's doing the function of kidney.
Yes, it's doing the function of the kidney outside the body.
Hmm.
Why I'm telling you this is, please understand, it is not the dialyzing unit which is called as artificial kidney, but it is a dialyzer which is called as artificial kidney.
Hmm.
Is this clear?
Hmm.
Okay. Now, so if you talk about the dialyzer here, okay, so this is how the entire dialyzing unit is going to look like. So I'll quickly explain what this is. Okay. So the blood will be basically drawn from the artery of the person. So this is going to be impure blood.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, whenever the blood comes out of your body, the blood will definitely clot. Yes or no?
Hmm.
So you need to add an anticoagulant agent to
Hmm.
make sure that your blood is not coagulating or clotting.
Hmm.
That is heparin. So can you see a heparin here?
Of course, this is different from hemodialysis.
No, this is hemodialysis unit only, da. The
Oh.
dialyzing unit this is.
From artery, blood will go to.
The blood will basically go to this dialyzer here. Can you see the image?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh. So the dialyzer is going to filter out. But before that, there is one step that we have to do. That is, we have to add heparin.
It will clot.
Heparin, yes, in order to prevent clotting of blood.
Oh.
Okay. Now, the fluid will go into the dialyzer.
Hmm.
Which one? The like what has to be filtered will go into the dialyzer.
Hmm.
So this dialyzer will have parallelly another fluid that is running. Okay. And that fluid that is running within the dialyzer is called as dialysate. What is it called?
Dialysate.
Dialysate. Okay, what is the speciality of this is, its composition is same as your blood plasma,
Hmm.
except that it will not have any nitrogenous waste.
Okay.
Okay, so like I have two parallel fluid flowing, one with high nitrogenous waste, another with low nitrogenous waste. The blood that is flowing will have high nitrogenous waste, but whereas the blood that is the dialysate that is flowing in the dialyzer will have low concentration of nitrogenous waste. So what do you think will ideally happen?
Osmosis or diffusion.
Diffusion will happen of the nitrogenous waste. So it will look something like this. Okay, so this is a dialyzer. A dialyzer is made up of coiled tubules. Okay, so when you look at it, it will look like this. 1 second. Yes. So you have several coiled tubules like this within the dialyzer. Okay. So these like inside the tubules, basically what will be running? Can you see these yellow color portions in the center? In this, your dialysate will be running from top to bottom. And your blood will be running. The arrow mark that is inside is basically denoting your blood. Okay, and the blood will be running from bottom to top in the opposite direction. So when the dialysate is flowing down like this, and when the blood is flowing up like this, what will happen? Diffusion will happen. So by the time the dialysate comes down, what will happen to it? It will become a used dialysate. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
It will be eliminated out, and again fresh dialysate will be passed through these tubules. Is this clear? This is how a dialyzer works. Okay, so in order to be a little more clear, yes, see here. I've just taken a small portion of the dialyzer in order to explain it better. So these dotted structures, small structures are the nitrogenous waste I'm talking about. Okay, there is a semi-permeable membrane that separates the blood and that tube, okay, through which the dialysate flows. So this is the direction in which the dialysate is flowing. Now what will happen? Due to the concentration difference, the waste products will diffuse into the dialysing fluid, and the clean blood is going to go out of the dialyzer. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt in this? Okay. So can you, by looking into this particular diagram, can you explain the process of your hemodialysis?
See, ma'am,
Mm,
from blood, from body
mm,
blood is taken.
mm,
Ah, from body blood is taken.
mm,
Dialyzer.
mm,
Before taking the dialyzer, there's a heparin pump.
mm,
Heparin,
mm.
which is required for this thing to prevent blood clotting.
Mm.
And then it goes to the dialyzer.
Okay,
Dialyzer contains something called dialysate.
very good. What is a dialysate?
Plasma and contents.
Except,
Except it does not contain nitrogenous waste.
very good.
Then the dialysate is goes in the opposite direction of blood. That is from top to bottom. So top
Mm,
fresh dialysate will be the bottom used. It will become used. So it will
mm,
flow top to bottom, and in between the blood and the blood will flow from bottom to top. In
mm,
between permeable membrane. So diffusion takes place. All nitrogenous waste from blood will go to dialysate. And
mm.
then from the dialysate, go to antiheparin pump, where antiheparin is produced, so blood can clot again.
The blood, no. Once it goes into the body, it should not like clot, right? So, like in order to nullify the effect of your heparin, we are going to have
Heparin
antiheparin.
prevents clotting. No.
Heparin will prevent clotting,
Hmm.
but antiheparin will ensure that the clotting can happen when the blood goes inside the body.
Hmm.
See, if there is like what will happen if your blood doesn't clot?
That's what blood will keep flowing.
But when you get hurt, blood will keep flowing. No, so we need to make
That's what
sure.
I told. Antiheparin is there, so blood will return to normal state.
Correct. Yes, and it will be passed through the vein.
Done.
That's it. This is hemodialysis. Okay.
Hmm.
Now the remaining ones are going to be very easy. So renal transplant, as I told you, that the transplantation of kidney is known as renal transplant. So the next question is, who all can donate? So ideally speaking, everyone can donate their kidneys because we have two kidneys.
Hmm.
Okay. But the ones like, say, for example, I require a kidney. The best suitable donor for me will be if I have a identical twin, then that will be my first preference. My identical twin can be a donor. My second preference would be a close relative or someone who's like within my family, rather than taking it from outside. The reason is because the more closer the relatives are, more chances that your body won't reject the kidney. Okay, if it is taken from some other organism, I mean some other person who's not related to me, chances are that my body will think it is completely foreign and it will reject. So and also, yes, the kidney that is being taken and transplanted into your body is called as a graft. Okay, so basically based on who's the donor, you have different types of graft. Okay, so if the donor is a identical twin, then it is called isograft. And if the donor is someone else, let it be close relative or anybody else, then it is allograft. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So if the kidney graft is classified in two types, isograft from the identical twin, and allograft is what?
Allograft is from anyone else.
Yes, correct. So the kidney graft, as I said, the chances are of rejection is less if it is an isograft. And if it is an allograft and if it is from a close relative, the chances are also less. But if it's from some other person who died or who's ready to donate, it is a bit of a, like there's chances that your immune system will not allow. Now, how can I make sure that this rejection is not happening? Then in that case, I can give that person immunosuppressant agent.
Yeah, I know that.
Yes.
So, cyclosporin A.
Correct. So if you give immunosuppressants, the immune system will suppress. Therefore, the person, the chances of rejection of the graft is less. But there's a problem in this. What is the problem?
What, ma'am?
There is a problem in like this immunosuppressant.
I don't know.
See, if I'm giving immunosuppressant, the kidney won't be rejected. That's fine. But What about if that person is catching a cold or something?
Oh, infection.
Infection. So normal cold means you're surviving. We are not dying because of normal cold. Yes or no?
Hmm.
That's because of the immune system. Now, if the immune system itself is not there, even the slightest of slightest cold can be fatal.
Like HIV.
Yes. So therefore, immunosuppressant people will always be kept isolated and made sure that they are not coming in contact with any sort of infection.
Hmm.
Okay.
How
So
many
that
days?
is, it depends. It depends upon the patient and it depends upon what kind of a surgery that patient is going through.
Hmm.
Until
Maximum 1
some
month.
people, yeah, of course, around that much time will take.
Hmm.
Okay. The next one is the kidney stones. So kidney stones, a person with a kidney stone generally will have a pain on the lower back of the abdomen.
Why, ma'am? Why do they get kidney stone?
In what? Why they get kidney stone? So kidney stone is accumulation of several, minerals and all. Okay. So basically, there are different types of kidney stone based on what is getting accumulated. So when your body is not eliminating those wastes, no, they'll get slowly accumulated in your kidney itself, and it will calcify or it will become like a stone at one point of time. Okay,
So they
like
no.
yeah, if you like seeing gross stuffs, 1 second. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So if there is like a renal stone, that person is going to have a very bad pain at the lower back. They will vomit and they will also have fever.
Hmm.
Okay, so these are the symptoms.
And
Okay,
in
so
urine stone
I
will
was
come.
telling you something, no? When you, if you want to see gross stuffs, no, just you can Google like kidney stones, types of kidney stones, and see the images. It took me some time to come out of these images itself.
Why, ma'am?
Uh,
Types of.
it's very gross to see. It is very annoying. Ooh.
Ma'am, it is normal only.
No. It is very annoying. Ooh, there was like one person's kidney in which that person had like around 800 stones.
Wow.
That means his entire kidney. See, I had one small, tiny stone, okay?
Hmm.
That itself caused immense pain for me. Imagine that person with 800 stones. How
Then
much pain? Huh?
how do you remove kidney stone?
They removed the kidney itself.
For you,
Yes, they removed that kidney with so much of stones.
no, ma'am. For you, one stone you had. No.
For me, my stone size was very small. So, see, not all stones are supposed to be surgically removed. So, some stones, they will just give you medication or ask you to drink a lot of water. So, when you're urinating itself, that stone will pass out.
Oh,
That's a
okay.
painful incident. That is another thing. But yeah, when your stone size is large, is when the doctor will ask you to undergo or like surgical process.
Hmm.
Okay, and there are two surgical processes, either open surgical process wherein the kidney area is cut open and the stone is removed. Another process is that these ultrasound waves,
Hmm. Yeah, with them they're melted.
yes, that is lithotripsy.
Hmm.
Okay, so these are the things that you need to know. So renal calculi, yes, as I told, these are the different types of stones,
Hmm.
kidney stones, based on what, like if it's cysteine is basically nothing but your amino acid. So if that amino acid is not eliminated out of the body, it is going to form a stone called cysteine stone.
Hmm.
Okay, then there is calcium stone, uric acid stone, struvite stones. So the most common stone amongst all these that is seen in regularly is calcium stones.
Calcium stones.
Yes. So how can you avoid kidney stone? High intake of salt should be reduced.
Hmm.
A lot of water has to be done. Like you have to drink a lot of water. So all these things will avoid the renal calculi or your kidney stone.
Hmm.
Is this clear?
Hmm.
Okay, we're almost done. Now, glomerulonephritis. It's nothing but your inflammation in your glomerulus.
Hmm.
If your glomerulus swell, then it is called as glomerulonephritis. That's it. Okay. And then the next things are ketonuria, alkaptonuria, pyuria, dysuria, hematuria, glycosuria. Sounds very difficult, but they are very, very easy. Okay. Out of this, you need to remember this ketonuria and glycosuria. They were asked in the exams.
Oh.
Okay. So ketonuria is nothing but in the urine, ketones are seen. Then it is called as ketonuria. So presence of ketone body in urea is called as ketonuria. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
And presence of glucose is called as glycosuria.
Wow.
Yes, avladhan. So tell me, give a wild guess. No, what would be hematuria?
Histamine.
Heme. Heme means what? What is the term heme always associated to?
Lymph.
Heme is always associated to blood, no da?
Oh yeah, heme. Oh, hemo. Okay.
Yes. So hematuria means what do you think it should be?
More hemophils.
More blood cells, red blood cells in your urine is hematuria. Okay, so when your body is not able to break down phenylalanine and tyrosine, then the person will suffer from alkaptonuria.
If our body is not
able to break down phenylalanine and tyrosine, then the person will suffer from alkaptonuria. Okay, so in this case, that person's body, there will be an acid called as homogentistic acid. What acid?
Homogentistic acid.
Yes. Now the last two, as I said, presence of blood in urine is hematuria. Pyuria is presence of WBC. Like sometimes the urine for some people will have pus. So that pus is nothing but WBC. And that is pyuria. And last is dysuria, is constant urine, like a pain during urinating. So that can be due to some urinary infection. The person will suffer from severe pain while urinating.
Okay.
That's it. Okay. So we'll quickly just recall everything. The first disorder that we learned was?
GDR reduces. What is it? Chronic renal failure.
Chronic renal failure and acute renal failure.
Glomerular filtration rate decreases.
Very good. In the case of which one? Rapidly means it will be
rapidly
which one?
Means acute. Slowly means chronic.
Yes. Then high accumulation of urea in the body is called as?
Uremia.
Very good. Very good. How can we cure this?
By dialysis.
Dialysis. What is a dialysate fluid?
It is up. It's similar to plasma, except no nitrogen is waste.
No nitrogen is waste. Excellent. And okay. So what is ketonuria?
More ketone.
In the what?
In the urine.
And what is glycosuria?
More glycogen. No, more glucose.
Very good. Dysuria?
More WBC.
No. Pain in the while urinating is dysuria.
Okay.
Okay. That is pyuria. What you said, more WBC is pyuria. Okay. And when I have more RBCs in my blood, then it is?
Hemophilia.
Hematuria. And what is nephritis? Glomerular nephritis?
Inflammation of glomerulus.
Very good. What is renal calculi?
Renal. Wait, what? Renal?
Calculi.
No, that I don't remember.
Renal calculi is your kidney stone.
Oh, kidney stone. That's all. Okay.
That's it. Another term for it is kidney stone. Okay. So that's it. With that, we are done with one full session and disorders. Was this too much for you to understand?
No, ma'am.
Okay, that is great then. So today we learned all the three methods of urine filtration. And we
everything I answered yesterday. I told no.
Good. I'm very happy. But you have to maintain this, not just one day.
Tomorrow, next class also. Next class when, ma'am? Monday.
Mostly Monday, yes. I'll confirm on Sunday evening.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay then. I think you sat for a longer time today.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you deserve some rest then. So go take rest. I'll see you on Monday then.
Bye, ma'am.
Okay. Bye-bye.